Alright guys, we're talking about domain and range today. Oh my goodness! Woohoo! Okay, so domain. The domain is all of my x values. The range is all my y values, right? So x independent variable, domain, range, which is the second number in your order pair, that is the y, the dependent variable. Looking right here, it says find the domain and range for each relation, then determine if it's a function. Well, we know how to determine if it's a function. None of my x values can repeat. So if I'm looking here, I've got 4, 5, 6, 7, and 5. You notice that I have 5 written twice, and it maps to a different y value. Therefore, it is not a function. Now, let's identify the domain. This is what we call a discrete set of data because it's just a number of points. So the domain for a discrete set of data, we will take a bracket and we will list out our x values. We're going to write them in least to greatest. So 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now we have 2 5s, we don't write it twice. The range, same thing, it's a discrete. So we've got -1, -4, 3, 9, and -2. So we're going to write them in least to greatest. So we're going to start with -4, and then go -2, and then go -1, and then 3, and then 9. There you go. Same thing for number 12. We're looking at the domain. Domain is all my x values. So I'm going to write them in least to greatest. So we're going to go -5, 0, 6, and 11. Range is all the y values. -1, 2, and 8. Now, is it a function? Yes, it's a function because none of my x values repeat. Number 13, domain, x values. You can see that I have 2 9s here. Not a function. The domain, open up, put your bracket, -7, -6, 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, and 9. And again, we don't write the 9 twice because it's already in the domain. Range, same thing, looking at the y values, 1, 2, 3, 7, 9. Bam, easy breezy. Looking at the graph, same thing, the domain is all the x values, right? So this point is at -2, 2. This point is at +2, 3. This point's at +3, 10. And this point is at 7, 8. Right? So my points are at -2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 10, 7, 8. So when you have it written like that, it's the exact same thing that we did up here for number 11, right? We just have a set of points. So do any of your x values repeat? No. So it's a function. Again, we can do the vertical line test, and we see that it only touches those vertical lines uno time. Domain, -2, 2, 3, and 7. Range is going to be 2, 3, 8, and 10. Let's look at some examples of continuous graphs. Alright, so number 15. Number 15, these open circles mean that it does not touch at that point. Right? So this point right here is at 2, -2. But that point is not included, right? It's not touching. The difference between that and that. That is included, that is not included. Okay, so when we write our domain and range as an inequality, that will not be included. Now, the domain is obviously all my x values. The range is obviously all of my y values. So I want to know where the function starts at. The function starts at +2 for my domain. Right? There is nothing on this function right here to the left of that point. So that is my starting point, +2. Now, once again, it's not included. So x is greater than 2. I'm reading this backwards. But where does it end at? It ends at this point, which is at 8, -6. Now once again, that point is also not included. So the domain is between, the x values are between 2 and 8. That's what that tells me. The range, the lowest point on the graph, is right here at -6, right? I want the y value because the range is the y values. So -6, and once again, it's not included. And it goes all the way up to -2, but again, that's not included. Is it a function? Yes, it is. Now, the difference between 15 and 16, right? These points are included. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. This is at -4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. -6. This point's at 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so the domain, again, the leftmost point on the graph is going to be right here. The x value at that point is -4. So it starts at -4. It is included. So it will be less than or equal to, because it touches at that point. Here you notice that it's not equal to. So there's your difference. The domain is the x value, so the x goes there. And it goes all the way to +3. That is the rightmost point on the graph. And again, it's included. The range is the same thing. I'm going to find the lowest point on the graph right here, which the y value at that point is -6. It is included because of my circle. And the highest point on the graph is +3. Bam, there it is. Let's look at number 18. Number 18, it is, oh sorry, let's go back. This is a function. Number 18 is also a function, vertical line test. Now, the domain, you see this arrow here? That tells me that it keeps going, and keeps going, and keeps going, and keeps going. So it doesn't have an ending point. So we say that it starts at -infinity. Now, -infinity is not really a number, because -infinity keeps going. So it cannot equal -infinity. We're talking about the domain. We see an arrow here. Okay, well that keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, all the way to +infinity. So there is your domain. Now we can also say this is all real numbers. Those mean the exact same thing. That means every number is in my domain. But now it is not the same thing for the range, because this is the lowest point on the graph. It doesn't keep going. So I want to know what's the y value at that point, because that's the lowest point. Well, we go down 1, 2, 3, 4. So the range starts at -4, and it's touching at that point, so it's included. But again, we look at our arrows here, and it keeps going up on both sides, so it keeps going up to +infinity, because we're talking about the range. The range is the y values. And again, you cannot include infinity, because there is no such thing as the number infinity. Alright, let's look at number 20. Okay, number 20 is a function. The domain, find the leftmost point on the graph, because we're looking at the x values. Now again, that's an arrow, so it keeps going. So the leftmost point on the graph is at -infinity, because there is no stopping point. You cannot touch -infinity. Now what's the rightmost point on the graph? The graph stops right there. It does not keep going to the right. So that's at 0. Now once again, that open circle means it's not touching. The range is the y values. I want to find the lowest point on the graph, which is that point. That's up 1, 2, 3. So it starts at 3. And again, it does not touch. But again, this keeps going, keeps going, keeps going up. So it's going to go all the way to infinity.